In sports, if you want to be the best, there are no off days.
It is time to pay the piper. And we will do that. Masters draft results. What a week it was.
Wow, maybe the most memorable Masters finish we've seen in 25 years.
Yeah. Congrats to Rory McIlroy and congrats to our very own Brian King. Welcome into the No Off Days podcast. He is Chris Cato. I am Scott Smith. So we will get to that because, of course, last week we had our Masters draft.
Yes.
So we have prepared a meal for our champion who selected Rory McIlroy, and we'll get to that momentarily. But we also will narrow that sandwich bracket field to the final two sandwiches.
2 remaining sandwiches. I can't wait to find out which 2 it is.
I mean, we've been doing this for almost a month, a few weeks.
Feels like a couple of years.
It always does this time in the bracket, but this is the moment you live for, right? Which are the 2 sandwiches that are going to be squaring off in the final showdown? Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Let's bring BK in. Without further ado, is he wearing his green jacket today? Is he? No.
Got a green shirt on.
He's got his green polo. This is wonderful.
He's got his chest poked out a little more than usual, too.
So take us through your feelings. Did you fall down to the ground and cry like Rory when you found out that you won the Masters draft?
I started to get a little
misty-eyed?
day one, Rory, like, I don't know if you saw, I think it was 13, where he just putted off the green and into the Race Creek, and I said, oh boy, that's it, he's gone. And then my dark horse, Nick Dunlap, carded a 90.
Oh boy, yeah, he was.
Yeah, so
rough.
I thought, oh boys, this is
Tide.
it, and another losing defeat. But man, that was exciting, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. And 13 wasn't done with old Rory either because he got him on that final round too.
Right.
That was the one he sunk into the creek.
You had, correct me if I'm wrong, you had Deschambeau too, didn't you?
I did.
Okay, so there was a minute there on Sunday where it looked like you might have winner and runner-up.
Oh, that'd been nice. Yeah, but you knew he was leaking oil coming in, so he wasn't doing too well there. But I kind of want him to. I don't know. I used to not like Bryson. I don't know why. Then all of a sudden it's changed. I don't know if it's that YouTube channel he has or something. But I was kind of pulling for him a little bit this weekend.
It feels like you're one of the few because I feel like people that don't like Bryson just like him even less, and I don't really actually know that many people that like Bryson. I have no problem with him. We discussed this last year around this time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of DeChambeau haters out there.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that I fully get it. Maybe it's. Is he putting on for TV? I'm not sure, but it's good for the game. I mean, anytime you got big names that are battling it out on a Sunday at Augusta National, that is great television. Speaking of great television, are we going to give the viewers some great TV today? What do we have?
We are. We got Ed McCaffrey, 3-time Super Bowl champ.
Wow.
Joining us how about that? And also the dad of Christian McCaffrey.
And Luke
McCaffrey.
Yeah,
forget.
True.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. So
get his thoughts on the NFL draft and other NFL happenings.
Yeah, and speaking of draft, I think we're going to get into that. Are we going to get into that? Are we going to have time for that?
Yeah, I think so. Right?
Yeah, we'll give you some takes, and then we'll bring back a fun segment that we introduced last year regarding the NFL draft. So
yes,
all right.
It has nothing to do with players' talent.
We are looking forward to it, and. Do we have? You have tabulated all the votes, right?
We are currently tabulating them.
We
are counting them right now, hand counting back in the back.
Your shoes and socks are off. Counting the toes too.
We did have some technical issues throughout the course of the week, and when it came to voting, but I think they've been sorted out. So I don't think there's been any. Very good. All right, we'll catch up with you momentarily, BK. If you're listening and you want to watch, go to fox13news.com/nodpod. If you're watching and you want to listen or subscribe, you can take out your phone. You can zap that QR code. It'll send you to our show page, and you can watch all of our shows, the previous 120 shows. They're right there for you. And if you're going to subscribe, we invite you to leave a 5-star as well. That's fox13news.com/nodpod. All right, let's get back into the college football mix because it's been a minute. But the big story coming out of the college football world is Nico Iamaleava. Did I say that right? Quarterback of Tennessee, former quarterback of Tennessee. And the NIL has come back to bite. It has come back with a vengeance on our old friend, the quarterback, going into his sophomore campaign. As now he is out of a job. He's out of a starting role as we sit right here because he tried to play contract holdout with Tennessee, and Josh Heupel said, "Homie, don't play that," and he smacked him on out of town. And he was receiving. I think his NIL deal was paying him upwards of $2 million, so somewhere between $2 and $2.5 million
per year.
Per year. And, whether or not he deserved that, I don't know. I mean, that's up for debate. I mean, I think he had a fairly decent freshman season, but yeah, I mean, look,
he was okay. He averaged under 200 yards a game.
The market dictates, right?
Right.
And in this case, the market seems to be dictating, like swinging that pendulum the other way, because now, like, it doesn't seem like any teams really want to touch him. Now, maybe they're acting like that as he enters the transfer portal or whatever. Or I don't even know if it's a transfer portal. I think he's just released, right, from Tennessee,
right.
And so he's basically a free agent to shop the market. And there's like not a strong market there for him. And I think part of it is because they looked at this, how it played out at Tennessee, and Nico's holding out. He wants $4 million a season from the University of Tennessee to continue playing. He sat out of spring practices, and it just put like a bad taste in Heupel's mouth. So now other teams are like, oh, man, I don't want to touch this guy. So the two teams that last I checked that still are linked to him and have some level of interest reportedly, UCLA and Tulane. I mean, that's a step down.
Yeah, big time. Well, UCLA makes sense because he's from California, but again, a step down from an SEC powerhouse, and then Tulane. What I'm fascinated by, and let me know if you read it the same way, is how it seems like the college football coaching family has circled the wagons on this and said, let's make a statement here that we're not going to be held hostage by our players. There were reports that not only Nico, but a couple other Tennessee players started trying to renegotiate their NIL deals before that playoff game against Ohio State.
It's just awful.
And so the report is that Dan Lanning at Oregon is actually the one that kind of waved the flag and back to Josh Heupel at Tennessee and said, hey, your boys' people are contacting us over here at Oregon.
I think it was his dad.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Like, I feel like I read somewhere where his dad was involved in kind of shopping his son out to other teams. And look, we've talked about this ad nauseum, but part of me feels like, okay, I'm glad that the coaches are pushing back a little bit, and I understand what their kind of role in all of this has been. I don't think everybody has embraced the idea of NIL playing such a heavy hand in college football at this stage. But, this is like, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. And the fact that you have had no oversight, essentially, over this entire process, that I'm not sad that it has come to this, where it's gotten so ugly and it's become publicized. Is this the first holdout or contract dispute? No, I mean, I'm sure it's happened and it just has not been publicized.
The QB at UNLV did it last year, and they said take a hike middle of the season.
But at some point, like, what are we doing here? Like, it's just getting so ridiculous. And this is just how you open Pandora's box, and maybe this will be the last one, and maybe coaches are smart to rally the wagon, so to speak, and try to crack down on it so that it doesn't become some, so crazy and out of hand. But, man, if this is not effective and he goes out and gets his payday, I don't know.
Think he'll get $4 million. I think there's a school that might pay him $2 million, but I don't think he's getting $4 million.
So you think he'd be in line for a pay cut?
I think he's in line for. Well, no, he was making $2 million. I think he's in line to keep making $2 million, but he was asking for $4 million, apparently. I think what's the solution? I mean, we've talked about it before. You got to have contracts. You got to have something like an NFL-like system where these guys sign a 1 or 2 year deal. This is your NIL package, and when you're done with that, we can renegotiate. Right?
Yeah. I mean, you have to have. I think. You really have to have some type of oversight, not just over the program and who's gonna hold this contract at this institution, but it has to be a governing body, let's say like an NCAA if it had teeth, to be able to do something like that. And I don't know. I just don't see that system in place. Especially in the arms race that is college football, that there's always going to be, a taker out there. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how the market resets itself with Nico. It's a shame that it's gotten to this. Maybe he has some remorse, some regret over his actions and his decision to try to hold out and get some more money. But, that's the carrot of the NFL, right? Like, is that used to be life-changing money at that point in time. And so you just laid it all on the line. There was a sense of camaraderie around college football because everybody kind of was shooting for the same goal. It's to win now, but it's also to play for that next level. And now it just seems like we've lost it, right? We've lost it. So a lot of these kids are getting these NIL deals coming straight out of high school. I feel like Nico's, didn't he negotiate his NIL deal when he was like a junior?
Yeah, he was kind of the first one, the poster child. Tennessee got in trouble for using NIL to induce him to come, and we heard he got this $8 million deal. So it's kind of ironic that now he's the poster child for why this isn't going to work.
Yeah. So what are his NFL prospects at some point in time? We shall see. He's going for the NFL bag right now. I know that. Speaking of the NFL, the draft is coming up next week, and it's going to kick off on Thursday from Green Bay. What a wonderful location for the NFL draft. It's going to be maybe the only time of year where it's not going to be frozen tundra, and we're talking football out there. So, but I want to pose a couple of questions here as we kind of kick. I don't want to do a full mock draft. We don't really have time for that. Other people have done a ton of work on that, but just a couple questions to kind of kick things off. All right, so Titans obviously hold the number 1 overall pick. Is there any question in your mind that Cam Ward is the guy they go with, number 1 overall?
Yeah, I said it a couple of weeks ago. I really feel like they're going to go Cam Ward.
Yeah.
I don't see them not taking. He seems like one of those players that if you put the right pieces around him, get him on a rookie contract, this could be the basis for Tennessee turning things around.
Yeah, I agree. I think Cam Ward's a special talent. He's got the confidence, the moxie, the leadership. He's shown it out there in a variety of different levels and teams, and he's successful. So I think he's elite talent, and we shall see how that fit goes in Nashville. All right, so last year they had 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round. Nobody's saying that it's going to be 6 this year, of course, but man, I think you kind of struggle to find more than 2. So I'm going to set the over-under. And BK, if you want to chime in here too, I struggle with the over-under. I wanted to do a point, so maybe 2.5.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's set it at 2.5. Over-under 2.5 on quarterbacks taken in the first round. Are we taking over or are we taking under?
I'm going under. I think it's Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, and you don't see anyone else reaching in the first round.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think Shedeur drops? A little bit? I mean, is he mid, late first round?
Let me see who's picking that has quarterback needs. I mean,
a lot of teams.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think
there's teams that have bridge quarterbacks in right now that you could definitely see going. I mean, you got a Vegas that has Geno Smith. You got, if the Jets have what's his face, Fields.
Well, did the Giants think Russ Wilson is the guy? I mean, they could draft a quarterback.
No, yeah. I mean, I think that there's a handful of teams that are in that situation where they have a guy that could play this. You got Cleveland. I mean, they went out and got Joe Flacco. He's not the long-term answer. What do you say, Brian? Over under 2.5 quarterbacks taken in the first round.
I'll go over. Just for simple fact that Jalen Milroe got invited to Green Bay for the NFL draft. And that was an NFL thing, and the NFL hates seeing things like Aaron Rodgers just sitting in the green room waiting.
No, I disagree. I think they need that guy there.
You think so?
They need that.
But do you think Milroe is going? That's the bigger thing. NFL doesn't know who's selecting him. I mean, he has to have a decent idea from feedback that he's gotten. He's not going to go embarrass himself on purpose.
Well, Milroe is going, I believe. And
he's going.
That's what I'm saying. If he's attending the NFL draft, I'm assuming he's attending the first round, that he probably has a decent indication that he could go.
But so did Brady Quinn. So Lamar didn't think he'd get picked 30th his first round. But every year there's a quarterback that says that Will Levis is, the most recent one,
right? Probably.
So he might have some feedback that makes him think he's going to go first.
But you don't see the NFL sitting up there and telling Jackson Dart, "Hey, why don't you head up to Green Bay?" So I think the reason they asked Jalen coming up there, they may have some, inside Pittsburgh, maybe, I don't know. Because it's just bad
I don't know
TV.
how much the NFL is I think the NFL extends invites to a handful of top prospects, and it's probably based on feedback from NFL GMs and scouting departments and agents as well that feel like they have a decent read on where their client's going to go, and they want the eyeballs on them. So I don't know. I mean, we don't want to suggest that the NFL knows what team is going to pick him, because I don't think that. I don't think they could.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that NFL may have a strong inkling that, hey, Pittsburgh.
I'm with you, though, Brian. I'm going to go over 2.5. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see 4.
Really?
I really wouldn't. I just think that quarterback is one of those things. We see a handful of teams that we just named. You got obviously Tennessee's going to go with quarterback, or we think they're going to go quarterback number 1. You got Cleveland in it too. I think Cleveland is right now they're throwing smoke signals that they're going to go defense, and maybe it's Abdul Carter, but I don't think they pass on Shedeur Sanders.
Really?
I think they take him at 2, unless there's something that is, if Coach Prime is saying, like, my boy's not coming to play in Cleveland.
They pull the Manning
if they pull the Manning card.
Yeah.
Outside of that, look, Flacco's clearly not your long-term fit. I can't see him even playing an entire season for Cleveland. And then I think outside of that, who do they have? A Pittsburgh's old backup? What's his face?
Mason Rudolph?
No.
They signed.
Yeah. Played for Philly.
Slippery
too.
Fingers McGee.
Kenny Pickett.
Yeah. Tiny hands.
So, are they going to pass on a quarterback when they're sitting at number 2?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not. But
and they already have a pretty strong defense. Like, I don't know why they would go defense there. I think they got to take Shedeur. And then if you go 1-2 quarterback, then all the other teams are like, which one of us is going to have to make the move up? And so, and to your point, I think you're right, Brian. I think Milroe has enough physical gifts that he could lure teams in that say, if we get him in a situation where we sit him behind a quarterback for a year or 2, it's not an immediate need. You don't have to jump in and start right now, but he has so much upside that they see in him, physical gifts, arm strength, all that maybe they're willing to jump up in the first round and go get him. I could see that happening. But and then Jackson Dart would be maybe my 4th in that order. I'm not sure, Dart or Milroe. All right, let me pose another question to you, both of you gentlemen. Let's see. How about this? We'll go Bucks at 19.
Okay.
Most likely to trade up, trade back, or stay put. Trade up, trade back, or stay put at 19. BK, you want to take this one?
It just, you have no idea because you don't know how it plays out, leading up to that 19th pick. I would say Jason Light would probably, all things being equal, would try to grab some. I don't know if there's a good edge rusher up there. I mean, he may stay, but I would say if no one's up there that he really wanted, he would obviously trade back.
Yes. I think he's going to stay put because I believe the needs on the defensive side of the ball, just looking at where these prospects are ranked, and again, depending on how it all plays out and who grabs who, but I think there's going to be enough around 19. You've got an edge rusher in James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee, who's the 23rd ranked prospect. They might go linebacker. You got Jalen Walker of Georgia, or cornerback.
Well, if Jalen Walker falls,
you've got. But I'm saying you got some guys there. You got Trey Amos at Ole Miss, a cornerback. Some guys that fit those 3 level of needs for the Bucs on defense, where I think they value that position there.
Well, I agree with the heart of that point, but that's why I think they're going to trade back, is because I think you're going to get to that spot in the draft and some of the talent is going to flatten out. And even Jason Light kind of pointed to this at some point, like you're not dealing with the elite, right? You're outside the top 10 and you have really good players, but you got a bunch of options, and the Bucs don't have any super glaring needs. I mean, it'd be nice to find a guy that's going to replace Levante at inside linebacker. It would be nice to have another edge rusher to throw into the mix. I don't think they're ready to move on from Braswell or Yaya Diaby just yet, so I don't think they need a starter there. I think Jamel Dean's probably not long-term at cornerback, but maybe they just want depth there. I mean, people have talked safety as well, though I think they like Tyke Smith a lot, and I think they're moving him back to safety this year. So I think they have a variety of options, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, that once they get to 19, they're going to say, oh, man, I bet we can move back a couple of spots, take something, in the mid-20s, and maybe grab like an extra third-round pick out of the deal. And that would be my guess of what they do. All right, so then we've already kind of laid the groundwork. And, BK, I'm kind of just springing this on you, so if you don't have one, then don't feel the need to answer. So do you have a first-round prediction? Do you have a name? This is the hard part. Or at least give me, in your opinion, what is the biggest position need?
Jihad Campbell. Would he be available there?
He could be. He could be. He's your boy, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about Jihad Campbell. What?
I mean,
is he a guy that's going to replace Levante David? You think like a?
You need to start kind of looking that way, don't you? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I'm familiar with him, but
he's a great. I mean, such a nose for the football.
Right.
Runs east to west really well. Great pursuit. But he is like 11th on the board right now. I just don't think he's there by the time the Bucs pick.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a run at positions, and all of a sudden you got an interior linebacker that may be the number one backer on the board and he's sliding. So that could happen. I would say that if he's there at 19, I think they would probably take him. But I'll just give you my hunch. I think they do end up trading back, and here's a name for you: Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan. I feel like he's like physical, has the tools. I think Jason Light likes the bigger cornerbacks. He's like 6'2", 200 pounds, like good ball skills, came from a championship level defense. I could see him being a guy that would. I mean, think about him long term opposite Zion McCallum. Two big, physically gifted cornerbacks, long arms. That could be a nice little pair.
Yeah, that would be a great one. I don't know if he'll be left then, but that would be awesome for the Bucs. Maybe they go wide receiver. I know you have a pretty stacked wide receiver room, but Evans, older, obviously. Godwin, the injury history there, and then I don't know who's their third right now. Who are the Bucs? Jalen McMillan, yeah. So maybe you try to if there's a guy like Luther Burden III still on the board, then maybe you bring in that speed, or Matthew Golden out of Texas.
Golden came in on a visit. He was the fastest wide receiver in the combine. I think he ran like a 4. It was ridiculous.
He smoked
like a 4.2.
it.
So yeah. I think here's the Bucs are in a great spot, right? Because like you got a team that was in the playoffs last year. Offensively, you're like set, right? I mean, obviously we don't know injuries. Injuries could always pop up, but like you could go receiver, and the fans would applaud it. Right. They would love it because it's like, well, we see what you're doing. It's not forcing Evans or Godwin out, but it's saying we have an aging receiving room, and here's a nice young piece to the future. You could go almost any position on defense outside of maybe even defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. I mean, you always need rotational guys in there, even though they love their D tackles. So, like, I feel like this is either way, I think this is going to set up well for Jason Light. And you know how he always hits home runs and on day 2, round 3 is a big money round for him. I don't think he needs offensive linemen, although that's where he's kind of cut his teeth. But so I don't know. I think the Bucs are in a good spot heading into this draft. Okay. So with that, last year, BK, I want you to stay on for this because this is going to be a guessing game.
BK's getting a lot of camera time today.
I know. Well, he's the big Masters winner. We got to pay honor.
He's still at Butler's cabin. Look at him.
We're not even done. We're going to bring him out of the booth. He's going to be sitting right here at the end of the show. We're going to force him to eat wings in front of us.
Oh, that'll be neat. I've never seen his lower half before. Do you have anything? Like, I always pictured you like rolling on one of those, like a Segway.
He's as tall as Olivier Roux. He's 7'9". Here he comes. So last year we did our own fake drafts.
That's
and we
right.
drafted a bunch of names, and then we tried to figure out what the common thread was in the draft picks.
This isn't based on talent or
no, it's not based on anything.
Yeah.
It's just what is the common thread. Like what sometimes like teams will draft, and it's like, well, we want a certain style of player. We want a gritty, tough player.
Yeah.
And so, like, they get a bunch of gritty, tough players. So ours is going to be way more superficial than that.
Sure.
But we're going to rotate back and forth. And BK, you can jump in on the guessing as well. You don't have a draft pool, do you?
I came up with one in like 2 minutes, about the same
I
amount
love
of time
it.
I picked Rory.
Okay.
But mine's better if I just do them consecutively. So,
we're going to take turns. We will since Brian drafted first in the Masters draft. No, wait, I did. Yeah, I got the first pick. Who drafted last?
I did. That's why
so
I
you
lost.
get to go first in this one,
Okay.
and we'll rotate through. And then once somebody has an idea, you're allowed to make a guess. Okay. All right.
Okay.
You're on the clock.
All right. I'm starting by drafting. I'm going to get a guard out of Alabama. His name is Tyler Booker.
Tyler Booker, guard. Out of what?
Maybe the best interior
Colorado?
guard in the draft. Alabama.
Okay.
Roll Tide.
All right. BK, you are on the clock.
Can we draft same guys?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll take Tyler Booker too. Tyler Booker.
BK, going Booker.
I hope we don't have the same theme here, Brian.
Yeah, I doubt you have my theme.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go in the first round. I'm going to go with receiver out of Texas Tech, Josh Kelly.
Okay.
Okay. Chris, you're back on the clock.
All
We're
right.
not doing.
We're going Tez Johnson, a wide receiver out of Oregon. Tez Johnson.
Okay. Sorry, I have to keep notes while I'm doing this. Wide receiver, Oregon. Okay. BK.
Okay, I will go with defensive tackle out of Nebraska, Robinson. It's Ty Robinson.
Ty
Robinson.
Okay.
Just telling you.
DT.
Out of where? Where did he go?
He went to Nebraska, Scott.
DT out of Nebraska. Okay, so we got Booker. Okay, Ty goes to the runner. Okay, in my second pick, I'm going. We need help. Blocking up front and a guy that can catch some passes too. I'm going Oscar Cardenas, tight end out of UTSA. Oscar Cardenas, tight end out of UTSA. A little bit of a reach, but he's gritty. I like him.
Where was your first guy from? Josh Kelly?
Texas Tech.
Okay.
Josh Kelly, wide receiver, Texas Tech. We're addressing the offense here, which I'm hoping we can do because our offense was dreadful last year.
Sounds like you're off to a good start.
Okay. Chris, you are back up on the clock.
Let's go to, I need another offensive lineman. Let's go a tackle out of Ohio State, Donovan Jackson.
Donovan Jackson, offensive tackle?
He is, yes.
Out of Ohio State. Okay. Jackson.
I have no idea what your guys' themes are.
Okay. You are on the clock, my friend.
I am going with an edge rusher. Everybody needs an edge rusher. Give me Jared Ivey out of Ole Miss.
Jared Ivey, edge Ole Miss. Okay. Okay. All right. With my third selection, we're going to go offense again. Running back Micah Bernard out of Utah. Running back Micah Bernard from the Utah Utes.
The Utes. Okay. I'm on the clock again.
You back on the clock.
Let's go. I feel really good about my offensive line. We're really building some depth here. Another tackle out of William and Mary. This is Charles Grant. Charles Grant, walk on up to the stage and hug the commissioner and get your team's ugly jersey.
And where's he from?
William and Mary.
Of course. How could I forget?
Yeah.
Great season.
Yeah, the Panthers, I think.
And he's a what does he play?
He's a tackle. I got another tackle.
Okay.
Offensive.
Well, I don't know. I feel like I'm seeing a thread, but I feel like my knowledge of U.S. history is not as strong as it ought to be. Okay, BK, you are back on the clock. Your fourth round selection.
I am going defense once again, and once again I'm going Ole Miss. Give me Trey Amos. Amos last name.
A former Alabama reject.
Yes.
Okay. Trey Amos. Repeat where he's from again.
Ole Miss.
Edge.
Edge rusher out of. I'm sorry. He's a cornerback.
Corner.
Out of Ole Miss.
I almost drafted him, but then he didn't fit my theme. It would have been silly.
All right, my fourth round selection. Running back again. He was there, had to take him. I would love to team him up with Micah Bernard. We're going with C.J. Beasley out of Georgia State. C.J. Beasley out of Georgia State.
Oh,
all right.
Okay.
Cato, on the clock.
Is this rounding off? This is my final pick?
Yeah, well, yeah. 5 picks. I think then we can make a guess.
Yeah. All right. This should do it for you. I need a quarterback for the future. We've seen him up close playing in Orlando at UCF. I'm going K.J. Jefferson.
K.J. Jefferson, and he's a quarterback from UCF. And with that, I'd like to register my first guess for Cato.
Yeah. Fire away.
I'm going to say these are U.S. vice presidents.
Very close. They are the ones that matter. They are U.S. presidents.
Okay. Booker?
Yes. No, Tyler would be his first name's Tyler. That's why I picked him first to throw you off.
Gotcha. Yeah. You did.
So that would be John Tyler.
Okay. But can we check to make sure that these aren't also vice presidents so that I can also be right? Rochelle, can we do a fact check on that? Okay. BK? You're on the clock. Do you want to make a prediction before we before BK?
I want to
makes
hear
his last?
before BK's last one. Let me see if I. This looks like a madman's
So
list.
he's got Tyler Booker.
He's got a Ty, a Tyler, a Jared Ivey, a Trey Amos.
There's a TY connection.
Ty Robinson, Booker, Ivey,
Amos, Ivey.
Guys, I spent like 2 minutes with
well,
this,
it's
so don't
really
you?
good. Okay.
No.
Are these guys maybe?
The last one.
Are they super tall?
No.
Do they have?
No.
Each of them have 6 toes.
You want my last pick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
I'm going Ole Miss once again. I'm going defense once again. Defensive
Body,
tackle
body.
Walter Nolan. Nolan is the last name.
Walter Nolan.
You got
So I went
Nolan.
with Booker,
Amos.
Robinson, Ivey, Amos, and Nolan.
I feel like, is that a law firm?
I'm gonna say, are these cartoon characters?
No.
Booker, Robinson, Ivey, Amos, and Nolan.
Walter,
Thinking
Trey,
of
Jared.
You guys
the Ivy thing is throwing me off.
I don't. I'm totally.
line up the last names, maybe.
Oh, you old dog.
Cato
you.
got it.
What are we doing?
He spelled Brian, Booker, Robinson, Ivy, Amos, and Nolan.
Good job, Cato.
He is such
this
an
guy.
egomaniac
Cato.
after he wins the Masters.
I know.
Pool.
Look at him. He's totally changed.
No,
I don't know if I'm
man.
going to present him with his wings. All right, my last pick. Here we go. I got to protect my offensive pieces, so I'm going to go offensive guard out of Fresno State, Mose Vavoa. Mose Vavoa.
Mose, like the cousin,
M-O-S-E.
Dwight's cousin in the office.
Correct.
Mose Vavoa.
Okay.
Oh,
So
yours
refresh
is,
me. I didn't write yours down.
Okay. So Brian's completely out of the
Brian's
game.
out of this one. He's just happy with his Masters.
Well, I
win.
can repeat him if you'd like.
I got
Yes.
here's Josh Kelly, Oscar Cardenas, Micah, Bernard, C.J. Beasley, Mose Baboa.
Correct.
I'm assuming your schools don't matter because I didn't pay attention to those. I don't know, man. Yours might be tougher to figure out than Brian's.
Those are all pets that you once owned? Pet names?
Yeah, Bernard. Did you have a Saint Bernard named Micah? Did you
Mose?
have a beagle named CJ?
You were close. You were sniffing around, but then now you're getting colder.
Oscar the Grouch.
No.
No.
Start the last one I give you. It's more and more obvious as it goes on.
Right.
So the hardest one is the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So start backwards.
Did you name a pet Josh? Start backwards. Mose Vavoa. Mose. Let's see. You like burritos. Welcome to Mose. Is that
Gosh.
it? CJ.
All right. Am I gonna? Do I have to fess up?
No idea.
Okay. These are all characters from The Office.
Oh.
Oh, Cato
Pam Beasley. Yeah, and
Andy
Bernard.
Bernard.
Andy. Oh, I should have
Oh,
gotten
and
that.
Kelly.
I
Cato
should have
got
gotten
it.
that. I should have gotten that.
Golly.
Oh.
Can I give you one real quick? Hit you with a real quick one before we go to break?
Creed?
Unless do you have another one?
I have another
Did you-
list.
you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, I do.
I know. I always know Chris is coming packed with extra. All right. Well, then you want to go rapid fire. See if Brian can figure this out. Okay.
This one's easy.
All right. All right. I'll do mine and then you do yours. So
Okay.
let me just go in
right.
order. All right. First round, we're going receiver out of Miami, Sam Brown Jr. Second round, Omar Norman Lott, defensive tackle out of Tennessee. Third round, Mike Frazier, inside linebacker or interior offensive lineman from LSU. Fourth round, Woody Marks, running back USC.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Good
that's
call.
good. Woody gave it away.
Yep.
Sam was good too. All right, I'm not even going to say their schools this time. We got Tyler Barron, Demetrius Knight, Jalen Royals, Princely Umanmielen,
Princely.
and Kobe King.
Well, it's got to be much
Royalty.
like my draft last year. These are royal. This is the Knights.
This is your level of medieval society.
yes.
You know, you got a baron, a knight. I don't know if a royal is really a
good.
position, but
Good job. Good
Yeah,
job, everybody.
that's
The
all.
Knights who say neat.
that's it.
Very good. That was a lot of fun. All right. Thank you, BK. Coming up on the other side, we're going to catch up with the gentleman who is the father of 2 NFL players. A very proud father indeed. One of the greats ever suit up in a 49ers uniform. Broncos uniform.
That would be.
Ed McCaffrey is our guest on the No Off Days podcast. Welcome back to the No Off Days podcast. As previously stated on this here podcast, we're very excited about next week's NFL draft, and no better than to talk to somebody that's actually been through it, both firsthand and vicariously through his sons.
That's right.
Let's get to our interview with Ed McCaffrey.
So we are pleased to welcome in a gentleman who spent 13 years in the NFL, Giants, Niners, Broncos. I have to lay this out. He had a 4-1 record against your Tampa Bay Buccaneers in his career. Also, his son menaced those Bucs for so many years while he was with the Carolina Panthers and Christian McCaffrey and, his son Luke. His Commanders ousted the Bucs last year in the postseason. So Bucs fans are plenty familiar with the McCaffrey legacy. You guys seem to have the Bucs number here in Tampa, Ed.
Yeah, well, when they're not playing against my kids' teams, I'll root for the Bucs. I like Baker and a bunch of the guys on the team. They had a heck of a team. I know that they got the best of the Commanders early in the season. I think that was Jaden Daniels' first game, right? Was that the opener? And then obviously the Commanders were really on a roll. So they lost to a pretty good team in the playoffs. I imagine next year both teams are kind of geared up and should be two of the teams that'll be in the hunt at the end of the year.
Yeah, we're hoping so. So looking back at the career you had and what a career it was, 3 Super Bowls, one of those with the 49ers, 2 with the Denver Broncos. When you look back kind of in retrospect, do you focus on the big games that you remember most fondly, or is there a little bit more nuance and kind of like maybe it's the relationships, the workouts, the road trips? I mean, as a former NFLer that's kind of reached those mountaintop moments, what do you find yourself looking back on most often now?
Yeah, well, I mean, I try to look forward, but when we're talking about it, obviously the Super Bowls were pretty great memories. They're memories that you never forget. So my favorite moment was Super Bowl 32. We beat the Green Bay Packers. We were 14-point underdogs. We lined up in the victory formation. I got to take a knee in the back of the victory formation and celebrate with John Elway, who won his first Super Bowl. It was the first Super Bowl in Denver Broncos history. So that was pretty darn cool. The first Super Bowl I won was with the 49ers. George Seifert was our head coach. Steve Young was the quarterback. Jerry Rice, that whole group, just a phenomenal team. I think we had 14 Pro Bowlers. When I talk to my old teammates, we'll start having conversations and it'll just like trigger memories and we'll share stories. That's why I like running into those guys. It's, a little nostalgia, a little walk through memory lane. But yeah, it seems so long ago. It almost seems like another lifetime ago. My kids are in the NFL now, Scott. It's been a while.
The NFL draft is coming up next week, and it's become quite the event here in the offseason over the years. How much different is it from your own personal experience when you were coming out of Stanford in 1991?
Well, I was sitting by a rotary phone in an off-campus house. Kind of a Napoleon Dynamite moment for me. My girlfriend at the time, who's my wife now, Lisa, we've been married a long time and had 4 boys together. We were sitting there just hanging out by this rotary phone. They only put 2 rounds on television back in the day. I was the last pick of the 3rd round. So for a whole round, I'm sitting around waiting for the call, not knowing if I'm going to get it. My buddies kept calling me. I'm like, stop calling this phone. I'm waiting for the real call. They'd been asking if I'd been drafted or not. And I'm like, no, please hang up. Finally, I got the call from Bill Parcells, and then, the waiting was over and it was all good that I was drafted by the New York Football Giants with the last pick of the 3rd round.
Yeah, they've come a long way since the rotary phone days. I can imagine if one of your buddies is on the phone, because you probably didn't have call waiting back then. It's probably a busy signal. That you don't want that to happen, right? A little bit earlier, you were mentioning kind of the connection that you had when you played for Jack Elway at Stanford, and then to be playing alongside John in Denver, and then you kind of get to experience it on the other side, because you mentioned, Mike Shanahan, he was your OC in San Francisco, and then he's your head coach in Denver, and now Christian's playing for his son Kyle. How cool is just kind of that multi-generational father-son kind of baton handoff that you guys get to, I guess, weave, kind of thread together?
But when Christian got there, all this was made about our families and the history. Well, I had a lot of history with Mike Shanahan and Peggy Shanahan, and so did Lisa. And we knew Kyle was the ball boy for the 49ers and the Broncos, and he held the cord back when you had to hold that cord on the sideline for his dad during our Super Bowls. But Christian was like 4 when all that happened, right? So he didn't remember them during the Super Bowl years. And he barely remembers being at the Super Bowl running through the confetti. So he had to go up to Kyle and shake his hand, and they sat down for about an hour the day he was signed, and they kind of introduced themselves to each other. And so it was a pretty cool moment. And then obviously they went on to have a ton of success the next couple of years, and hopefully they'll pick back up this year and have that same kind of success.
All right, we're going to take a quick timeout in our conversation with Ed McCaffrey, and we will return with much more on the No Off Days podcast. We're having a lot of fun chatting with three-time Super Bowl champion Ed McCaffrey. Time to dive back into our conversation.
On the personal side of things, you raised 4 boys, all very successful collegiately, and then into the pros. And your son Max on staff with the Dolphins, and Dylan played at Michigan as well. But how, aside from the gene pool, which nobody can hack, but I'm sure a lot of folks are watching this and saying, "Man, how did you do it? Like, what were the things? What were the foundational things as a dad raising 4 boys in probably a crazy kind of sports field environment to keep them focused and keep the love for the game burning?"
Yeah, I think it's part art, part science, and part just sheer willpower. I mean, I think that you have to be really passionate about what you're doing to be successful at it. Nobody lucks into making the NFL. You have to be physically gifted, but you have to work really, really hard. There's a lot of physically gifted athletes that never make it to the NFL for whatever reason. It's too physical. They're not willing to put in the work. You name it. Maybe it's just not in their heart, right? So, it just happened to be that all 4 of my boys absolutely love football. They loved it. And then Lisa and I had high expectations for them. You had to do well in school. You had to do well in the classroom, or you weren't going to be allowed to play sports. And so they got good grades. They worked really hard in school so they could play football. They loved being part of a team. They really did. It's like, being part of something bigger than yourself, taking the field with your teammates. Now, they played other sports, football, basketball, track, lacrosse. They were involved, after school doing something every day of the year. But I think football was always just the real passion. Maybe they grew up around it, hanging out with Rod Smith and Shannon Sharp in the locker rooms, playing with Power Rangers or whatever. But so maybe that had something to do with it. But they really just fell in love with it and worked really, really hard all the time. Lisa and I did our best to guide them. But then as they got older, they grew into men and made their own decisions and pursued their dream on their own. So give those guys a lot of credit, man. I mean, I was there to guide them and help them when I could, but it was really them. I mean, it was really just up to them to want it bad enough to play at that level.
So your post NFL career has included some cool things, and one of those is you get a chance to be an entrepreneur. Tell us a little bit about your new product in the McCaffrey Protein Bites and where people can find them.
Yeah, well, one thing about raising 4 boys is they eat you out of house and home. So we spent a lot of time in the grocery store. They were always playing sports. We were always in the car. Parents that have kids that play sports know that. It's like after school, trying to get them something to eat before practice, in the car from game to tournament, yada, yada, yada. Always trying to get them healthy stuff to eat, so you're not just always eating fast food and junk food. So we came up with some really healthy snacks, McCaffrey Brand's Protein Bites. Some of our kids had allergies, so these are gluten-free, non-GMO, plant-based protein. And as soon as you hear that, you're thinking, oh, healthy food probably doesn't taste good. But look, we have birthday cake, chocolate chip cookie dough, and they kind of taste like it, right? So we wouldn't have put our name on here or our picture on the back if these things weren't absolutely delicious. They're high in protein. I don't think enough people eat enough protein these days. But if you want to talk about pregame, postgame, halftime snack, if you're doing your show and you don't have time to throw down a cheesesteak, right, you can eat a couple of bites of these. They're in a resealable bag so you can control your portion size. And they give you a good amount of protein, which you're supposed to distribute throughout the day, include in multiple meals throughout the day. And they give you just a little pick-me-up. But it's nice and healthy. Instead of reaching for the candy bar, reach for McCaffrey Brands Protein Bites. You can get them at McCaffreyBrands.com, McCaffreyBrands.com, or they're on the shelves at Dick's Sporting Goods stores starting this week.
Very good. For the record, Ed, I always try to make room for a Philly cheesesteak throughout the course of the day. Ed, we appreciate your time. Cut down on those daily Philly cheesesteak intakes, grab you some protein bites, and you can find them at Dick's Sporting Goods or McCaffreyBrands.com. Ed, we appreciate your insight on the upcoming draft, a look into your family, and the great product you got coming to stores.
Thank you. Let's do it again sometime.
Great to hear his perspective, and now it is time to hear from our champion yet again. We saw him off the top of the show, but Brian is not done with you, the viewer. He wants to eat in front of you, and that's coming up next as we present his Masters meal to our Masters champ. That's coming up on the Nodpod. Welcome back to the No Off Days podcast. We are down to the final 4 teams, the Krusty Quad. But you have been voting all week, and we thank you for that. And we are going to reveal the 2 championship sandwiches in the Sandwich Showdown bracket.
I cannot wait to find out. Is it going to be Cuban or Grouper out of that one bracket?
Well, I feel like your prediction last week was what? You thought...
I thought Cuban would get it done.
You thought Cuban was going to be Grouper, and then between pulled pork and Italian sub, you were feeling...
I was kind of pulling pulled pork.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, never wanted Italian sub as
all
that
right,
one.
BK, let's bring you in. I know you've been busy tabulating all the votes that have come in this week, and we do thank our voters for doing that. And we're going to ask you to do it again here this next week, one last time. But let's show the good people what we got.
I will say,
and you have all the number breakdowns.
That is correct. The voting was super close. Super close, closer than the other round, so that's really good.
It should be in the final.
That's
four.
what
It
you
should
want.
be.
Or the Krusty Quad.
So let's go to the final 4. The first one.
Okay, so
The
we had
first-
1 seed Italian sub against 12 seed pulled pork. I mean, on paper, you're thinking this is going to be, obviously, the lone 1 seed's going to, oh my goodness.
Wow, pulled pork pulled it out.
How about it?
55%.
55%. That's one of the closest yet.
Yes, it is.
I did not know people were so passionate about. I mean, I love it, but wow, to beat the 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest. I'm surprised by that. When we seeded this in our seeding committee, pulled pork was kind of a little bit of an afterthought because we're thinking, well, we got to get some barbecue representation. Right. What's the most popular barbecue sandwich? It's got to be pulled pork, slightly
sandwich.
Over like a brisket sandwich, you know, even though I don't know. That would be interesting.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, but okay, so pulled pork is advancing to the champion. Congratulations, pulled pork. Wow. Do you guys put barbecue sauce on your pulled pork sandwich?
Depends on how sauced the pork already is.
Okay.
If it's already sauced, then no.
Yeah. Well, I'm always saucy.
Yeah,
I'm a
always
big
saucy.
over saucer.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So who is going to be facing the 12 seed pulled pork in the championship round? Here we go, BK. We had grouper sandwich and 11 seed against 10 seed Cuban, and the result is
Cuban.
oh.
Ow.
Okay.
This
So-
one was more of a dominant 67%. So
Really?
2 out of every 3 people did not want to go with the grouper sandwich.
See, I think all the people that voted for grouper also voted for Cuban, and so it got down to
You had to pick a favorite.
You had to
Yeah.
pick, and I think a lot of people were probably torn on this.
They had to go with their gut, and their gut has been stuffed many times over the years with that delicious pressed Tampa favorite. the
So
Cuban.
as we reset the field again for one last week of voting, it's going to be 12 seed pulled pork against 10 seed Cuban.
Wow.
2 teams that were total long shots coming into this thing, and nobody saw this coming. But and many people say that pulled pork is a Tampa favorite.
Right.
I didn't really know that personally.
And the Cuban is too, though. So this is
But
a clash
Cuban
of
obviously is,
Tampa
right?
favorites.
So Tampa Bay, stand up. Where you at? You got to decide between these two breaded beauties.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Do you have any pre-match analysis of this to lend to the viewer?
Well, both lean heavily on pig. You've got obviously pulled pork, but then you've got the Cuban. One of the main ingredients is the ham, and salami, whatever salami's made of. Goodness. Pulled porks just surprise me at every level of this tournament.
They're pulling all the right strings.
They are. They're working as a team. They're not getting too messy when you bite into them, but just messy enough to let the opponent know. I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I honestly think the last matchup is going to be I think it's going to be pretty lopsided, actually.
You think so?
I don't think it's going to be that tight. I think Cuban has been riding this they're like on the crest of a giant wave, and they've just been riding it all the way.
It's not a red wave. It's a pressed wave.
I don't know what it is. With a little dab of mustard and a couple pickles.
Yeah.
I think Cuban is going to run away with this thing, and I'll feel like it was despite what I've said about it all along the way.
Yeah.
Maybe people are doing it just to spite me.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
your animosity to the Cuban has propelled the Cuban's base to really rally.
Yeah. All right. With that, BK, you need to come out in studio and enjoy your. So
All right.
yeah, you got to come out from behind there. So we're going to present BK his championship meal. So just a quick recap: we did a Masters draft last week. We all selected 4 golfers,
Right.
and the winning golfer was Rory McIlroy, and that was Brian's first overall selection in the draft. And sure enough, he did it, career Grand Slam. And so with that, BK's his Masters meal was what?
He wanted wings, specifically the Dave's Shake and Bake from Hat Tricks, our local one of our favorite wings establishments.
Delicious.
And then for dessert, he wanted something simple, which I was grateful.
He's a simple man.
It wasn't difficult
Like
for me to
Leonard
make.
Skinner.
He wanted the drumstick, the Nestle drumstick ice cream cone.
All right, let's bring him out.
There he is, our Masters champion for 2025.
Congratulations, Brian.
You fought well, buddy. Good
Thanks,
job.
man. I am excited.
There you go. So we
Look at that.
got drumsticks. You take a whiff of the Dave's Way.
Yeah, they smell great already.
They're a little messy.
I never had them until we went out.
Yeah, the other day we
Yeah.
did it for the first time.
What do you
Well, here,
like
you
about
take
it,
one.
Brian?
They surprised me. The taste surprised me.
Yeah,
You know,
really
it
good.
was a unique
a little
taste.
garlic kick to
Oh,
them.
enjoy.
I reheated them here, so
Did
are they
ya?
good? Are they all right?
They're good.
Here we
Too
go.
dry?
It's a tradition unlike any other.
That
And
is.
I wish we had some great Nancism to leave you with, but you
A
know.
feast fit for a king.
A feast.
That's what he would say, something corny like that.
Perfect. Absolutely. So much thanks
Thanks,
to
guys.
our guest, Ed McCaffrey. A lot of fun this week. Congratulations once again to Brian, our champ. We are going to make sure that we pick our way through some of his food items as well. All right. Enjoy that drumstick, big fella. You earned it. All right. We'll have our next draft coming up here soon enough. The next major's on deck.
We brought enough to share. by
Until
the
the
way.
next time we are on, there are no off days.